Week one of the NFL season is not here yet. Matter of fact, the Hall of Fame game, week one of the preseason, for that matter, is not here yet. But if you're not ready to talk football, then what the hell are you doing with your life? This is way too early. Week one NFL bets, and we've got some bangers for you today. I'm Dave Loughran with Ben Rasa at JazzRaz DFS. I'm over at Lafayette_D, and we've got four of them. Week one bets that you should be plugging in now, because these, we saw it last year when we did this, these can move a little bit heading into early September. What's going on, brother? How you feeling? Are you ready for this to finally commence?
Oh, I'm ready. I'll tell you the truth. We held off as long as we could. I have to talk football. I can't do any more baseball. No offense to baseball. We got a lot of good content in the baseball streets. I need to talk some football. The season is rapidly approaching, and you mentioned it. It's not just all fun and games. There are a couple spreads that I actually want to capture now, and I'll roll the dice that I get some closing line value before they kick off.
Me too. And another thing worth considering is a lot of times in season, you're not going to get these where you're getting in under some of these key numbers, which is what I've noticed. Like, obviously, you're going to get good spots where you can shop around on books. I think there are a couple of them that we'll talk about that could move through those key numbers and become significantly worse bets. So hopefully we're right. We get on them in late July. It's possible that you're watching this in August too, and the lines haven't moved and the value is still applicable. But I would say, Ben, just to throw it out there, if you're watching this later in August or something, make sure that you're getting the same lines, the same odds, or the same lines, I should say, that we're talking about right now, because it might be different 1, 2, 3, or 4 weeks from now.
Oh, no doubt. And I think it's a pretty simple reason. During the season, you can't have lines posted months in advance. They're posted 6 days in advance for games. But, this is the only time of the year that you have a month plus of opportunity to maybe get in. And we know that you're just a bad step away from a quarterback going down and you take a horrible line. But on the flip side, you also can capture crazy value that way. There is higher variance. But like I said, I have a couple that I feel good at. The biggest question is, are you going to set the tone first, or do you want me to kick this off?
I'll set the tone.
Okay, go ahead.
I have one question for you, though. Being that these lines have already been posted for a while, week one and past that, how much movement do you think we could see on some of these? Of course, the preseason can make a difference. There's no denying that, based on injuries, based on a bunch of different things. But how much mobility do you think there is in these lines leading up to week one?
I do think there's still plenty, because like you mentioned, the preseason will craft some things. There will be injuries. There will be decisions. A lot of teams have pretty murky quarterback situations. I'm going to talk about a couple with some of my picks. So I think there's clearly plenty of time, and I think there's going to be some drastic swings on a lot of these games.
I'll kick it off, and I want your thoughts on this one. I'm going to go number one, Baltimore Ravens -9.5. This is just one where getting in under 10 here on DraftKings, 9.5 at home against the Houston Texans, a team that's either going to be starting CJ Stroud or Davis Mills at quarterback, has a wide receiver position with a massive amount of unknowns. And then Robert Woods, who was a colossal disaster as the wide receiver one in Tennessee last year. Now you're asking him to catch passes from Davis Mills or CJ Stroud, who likely will be the starter. Dameon Pierce was solid. I get that. They added Devin Singletary. Fine. They've had some early draft picks, but there's still so many question marks with this team. Nico Collins, John Mechie hasn't played a game yet. Tank Dell. They got Dalton Schultz, but how much does that move the needle? Flip to the other side of this coin, Ben. You have a healthy Lamar Jackson. You have a healthy back, assuming J.K. Dobbins, doesn't hold out or anything for a new contract. You have J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, both now another year removed from the ACL. They just drafted Flowers, so they've bolstered their pass catching. I don't know about Bateman, but you still have Mark Andrews. You have one of the best offensive lines in the league, a strong enough defense in Baltimore, and Todd Monken taking over at offensive coordinator. That's a question mark. Sure, maybe things don't go as smoothly as they do later in the season. I just think that if I can get this at 9.5, they get a 10-point win here, God willing, or more. I like them at home against a Houston team that right now is a one giant question mark with a ton of young players, and many of them who have never stepped on the field in an NFL game.
So we didn't, just for people, I didn't know where you were going to go, but so far, and it's only been one pick, I think we may have the same strategy, not in who we're picking, But what I did was I wanted to stick to the outer bounds both ways. Teams that I feel super confident are going to be really good, and teams that I'm really confident are going to be really bad. And the Houston Texans, I think we all know, even if they overachieve, they're not going to be a great team. Now, Baltimore, you mentioned, I think for them, it's just a matter of hard reset. What a mess at the end of the year. The injuries, what's going on? Lamar, is he going to come back? Can he play? He can't play. Fresh start. More weapons. Maybe you can debate. You mentioned Flowers. I think he's going to be really good. But even if not, that running attack, I like Monken. They can score. They're at home. And then the last thing I'll say you don't get closing line value. Say it goes the other way. If it goes to 9, 8.5, things like that, is it that big a deal? Now, if it crosses 7, that's a huge difference.
Yeah, that's a problem. But it will. There's no way unless Lamar goes, unless something insane happens.
That's not going to happen. Now, on the flip side, say you get the value. Say it crosses 10. Huge difference. So there's an inherent opportunity cost that you're taking advantage of it, and it's a decent spread to roll the dice with. I'm going to go to that same mentality.
Before you do, for people that are new to the NFL betting space, can you explain why key numbers are so important, particularly when it comes to the spread?
Sure. So basketball is kind of a different type of sport because there's 1s, 2s, and 3s, and it's such a high scoring game. With football, you got field goals, you've got touchdowns. There are games, I mean, if you watch a lot of football, 21, 24, like there are common scores that it will land on, and the difference in margin of victory, a game-winning field goal, 3, a game-winning touchdown, 7. So if you're getting, say, 7.5, or you're laying, say, 6.5, you've secured a very potent number when it lands on 7. Now, the difference between 8 and 9, not huge. Could it land on that? Of course, but there are certain numbers that we all see in football where the difference in score lands on 3 and 7 and sometimes like 10 very, very often.
So where are we going? Pick number 2.
So on FanDuel, I wanted to snatch this number, and this is, honestly, I like my second pick more, but this number was really important to me. It's the Chicago Bears. It's a divisional game, but you can find -2.5 at -110 against the Packers on FanDuel as we do this. And I think that's really, really important. I've seen this move to 3. Again, oddchopper.com. You can quickly and easily get all of the spreads and see where they're at across all the books. I like this at 2.5. We know Justin Fields. We know this offense, I think, is on the rise. The Bears are working a lot of stuff out, no doubt about it, but Fields is so dynamic. And then I am banking on the concept that their defense can't be any worse. It's not possible. They've spent some money. They have brought in some guys, particularly on the edge. It's got to be better. They're at home. And then there's a new era in Green Bay, and I think they're a mystery team. Maybe they're really good, but I think there's also a very real chance that they struggle a bit, and that the North, I mean, we're not going to talk about Detroit, or at least I'm not in this video, but I think it's pretty clear that the Packers' domination of the North is over. They're going to be in a battle in that division. I think the Bears jump and get them early. We've seen them get them before. I think they'll look good at home. And again, that game lands on 3 a lot, and getting 2.5, I think, is a really good number.
I like it. Adding DJ Moore is massive.
Yes.
Cole Kmet over the second half of the season was also very good. Remember how horrible he was to start the year?
Yeah, I used to play him in DFS every week, and he would get zero points.
He's the tight end 6 in fantasy. Tight end 6 over the final half of the season, had multiple 2-touchdown games. And by the way, if you're stoked about fantasy football, but you're like, I think I'll just sit back and research until late August or early September before my leagues start, don't do it. Underdog Fantasy right now, they have a $15 million prize pool in best ball. $25 to enter. You can enter up to as many as 150 times. They have the puppy that's $5 to enter. They have the Chihuahua that's even less than that. All of these monster contests, I know the names are silly, but the prizes are huge. All of these over at Underdog Fantasy, and let's not bury the lead. First match deposit bonus, 100% up to $100. So if you have $100 and you take that, you put it in Underdog, you now have $200. It immediately matches it. So you've just made $100 before you did anything. Let's say you said, all right, I want to put 4 lineups. I want to draft 4 best ball lineups, where in best ball, you're not doing trades, no ads drops, no waiver moves. You draft your team, 18 rounds, and the team that you draft is the team you have. It's an awesome format. You'll probably stop playing fantasy after doing this. But when it comes to these contests, this first match deposit bonus is $100 out of the gate. Or if you only have 20, now you have another 20. So you can add more lineups that you didn't have before. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment if you want to get in on it and start drafting in July or early August instead of waiting until all your buddies are ready to rock on August 30th. Check it out. I love it. I draft there every single day. All right, so I'm going to go next here. How about this, Ben? You're talking about you want to live on the edges, right? You want to live on the extremes. I actually think to some extent this is the extreme as well. You and I were both very much fading Minnesota on stretches last year because we just acknowledged or identified that this team was running insane. I mean, they had a negative point differential, I think, at one point, like late in the season, despite having 12 wins or something ridiculous. However, the Tampa Bay Bucks, we're talking about Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask at quarterback. Okay. This is one of those teams that you want to talk about meltdowns. I mean, they fell apart, and all season long, people go, a lot of people, no, just get another week. They could get there. They could figure it out. And this is with Tom Brady at the helm. I don't care if Tom Brady was in the twilight of his career. You can't tell me that Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask are the answer. Minnesota at home, despite all of their blemishes, all of their flaws, I still like the 6.5 here, getting in under 7 points at home against a team that by and large doesn't really have a quarterback, and they have good weapons, but you have to get them the ball. On the other side, Kirk Cousins can get the ball to Justin Jefferson. They just added Addison, not to mention TJ Hawkinson was a monster in Minnesota last year. I don't think Dalvin Cook to Addison is to Alexander Madison, is a big difference, a big drop. Give me the 6.5. I'm going to lay the 6.5 at home with Minnesota against the Bucs team that legitimately doesn't have a competent quarterback.
Yeah, Minnesota, it's a perfect spot for Minnesota, only in the sense that I'm judging them right now, but like they're the prototypical team. They beat up on all these type of teams and they look great. And this is how you get sucked into Minnesota, because they dominate bad teams and they rack up the wins. And then it gets to the playoffs, and the Bucs not going to be in the playoffs most likely, and they're going to have to play real teams. And we saw that with the Giants, but that's neither here nor there. These are the type of things, say what you want about Kirk Cousins, but he's got every weapon in the book. They're at home. And Tampa, again, I'm just going to go right to my pick because it really piggybacks on the same mentality that you have. Again, the extremes. I could do a whole show. We could do a whole series on how much, I can't stand the Cardinals. But they're also going to be, I think they're going to be the worst team in the league. They have no players. I'm not a Kyler Murray fan, but he would obviously be an upgrade over whoever they throw out there.
Presumably Colt McCoy.
That's fine. I've heard it might be Clayton Tune. Now that guy, okay. That's not, no offense to Clayton Tune. I've watched a lot of college football. Never in my life did I watch him and say, you know what, he would be a great week 1 starter. Like that's not the answer. And so looking at this, they play the Commanders on the road, and it's inside a touchdown. You're sitting -6 at -110 for Washington, who has a bunch of problems of their own. But you know what the difference is? Arizona has no choice here. Kyler got hurt. They're forced into either we know what Colt McCoy is, or they could go YOLO and try out someone like Clayton Tune. They're a mess across the board. On the Washington side, we don't know how good Sam Howell is, but they have the luxury. They're saying this is our guy. They're not forced into this by any stretch. They are saying this guy's got the talent and we want to build around him. And I actually think he's going to be really, really good. They've got some weapons for him. They're at home. I'm not going to try to quantify the sale and all that stuff, but it can't be bad for them. It seems like there's an energy around this team, but this is not a buy of Washington. This is a short of the Cardinals. I think they are straight non-competitive in the early season.
So just get rolled every week.
This is the type of team, and we're going to have some fun videos here at Hot Chopper, so stay tuned leading up to the season. If you're going to bet someone as like a fun, doesn't 0-17 style, the Cardinals. The Cardinals are going to be awful.
What are the odds on them to not win a game?
I have no idea, but whatever it is, it's probably they are going to be, or like last team to win. That's always a fun bet too.
That's a great one. Hold on. Before we go.
Find it.
Before we go, let's see if we can find this here. Sometimes it can be
because
difficult to come across these. It's always a pain in the ass.
they are just so dysfunctional.
All right, well, the team to score the fewest points is the Cardinals at plus 650. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't find it.
They're going to be bad, real bad. But laying 6 at home, even for the Commanders, who may not be a good team, but I think they'll look good in week 1.
All right. Last winless team, Arizona, is only 4-1.
See, that's absurd because they know. That just proves my point, though. I would never bet that. But honestly, I think that speaks to maybe how bad they could be early in the season.
And 16-1 to finish 0-17. Those are really short odds considering every other team, even the Houston Texans, are 40-1. There's no one closer than 40-1.
Non-competitive.
Case in point, short the Arizona Cardinals. I'm laying the points on the Ravens against a completely unknown and very likely bad Texans team. I'm also going with Minnesota against that Tampa squad. It's in Minnesota and a Tampa squad that's either running out Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. Who knows? Maybe it's John Walford. But what difference does that make? And Ben, you're rounding it out with the Chicago Bears at home against the Green Bay Packers.
Yes, I am. All four selections, home teams for us. So we're hoping teams in their own building start fast. But I think there's some real value here, some key numbers. If you have any questions, though, if you're watching this leading up to the season, you got questions on Underdog, you got questions on OddsShopper. Twitter handles are on the screen. You're going to be seeing us on OddsShopper all year long. I can't wait to see this. I can't wait to see this Cardinals game now. I've never been more excited to watch bad football.
Leave a comment down below. Let us know your favorite picks for week 1. It might be too early, but it's never too early to start talking football. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up. Follow Ben at JazzRazDFS, me at Lafayette_D, and we'll catch you back here for the next one as the football season rapidly approaches. Peace.